So, fresh start. So, one of the first things you want to do before you do anything else is go down into Advanced BIOS Features and look for the device that says CPU Enhanced Halt, or the option that says CPU Enhanced Halt, C1E. You want to make sure that this is disabled. It's enabled by default, so make sure it's disabled. Same thing for CPU Thermal Monitor 2, disable that, and the same thing for E1ST. What these options are Intel's, throttle down or speed step options. They will throttle down the CPU, which is good, and once you've done your overclocking and you've found a stable overclock, you can re-enable some of these, but for now you want to really disable them. Another thing I would suggest is to disable the full screen logo. We don't need that big Gigabyte splash screen up on the screen every time you boot. I'd much rather see my post screen. Obviously, if you have a PCI Express card, you need to change this from PCI to PEG, or PEG2 if you're using the second slot on the motherboard. So, now if that's out of the way, let's get to some overclocking. So, you're back at the main menu. Another thing that you really want to remember with a Gigabyte BIOS is when you're at this main menu, before you go into the MIT menu, press Control and F1. You'll see that the screen will quickly flash, and basically what that does is unlock a few advanced options in the MIT menu. Gigabyte started doing this quite a while ago on their Intel boards, and it's a minor annoyance. I guess it keeps novice users out of trouble, but anyway. So what I'm going to do is do a really mild overclock on my machine that I know my CPU can handle. If you've got a quad-core CPU, you should have no problem doing this either. So the other first thing that you want to do before you do anything else is, one, either look at the package that your memory came in, or pop open your case and look at the actual sticker on your memory sticks and see what the rated speed is, and what the rated timings are, and what the rated voltage is. Once you found that out, write it down on a piece of paper or something, and you want to change these options first. Go to System Memory Multiplier, and you want to change this if you need to. You won't need to actually by default, but once you start overclocking you will. And you always want the second value here that's shown in green, or aqua, to be as close to your memory's rated speed as possible. My memory's rated speed is 1066, and it actually shows me what my rated speed is, what the SPD chip is reporting on the memory. So you always want to make sure that your memory is actually running near or at its rated speed, at least at first when you're overclocking your CPU. Now, a lot of memory that you have can actually be overclocked a little, and you can get into that later, but for now you want to make sure that this System Memory Multiplier is set so that the speed that's reported right below it is closest to your CPU rated speed, at or below. So now, right underneath that, we have DRAM timing selectable, and this basically controls your memory timings. And the first thing you want to do is change this from auto to manual. And on your memory chip, or somewhere in the documentation that came with your memory, definitely should be on a sticker on your memory sticks, are timings, and they're listed in a specific order, and they follow this order: cast timing, TRCD, TRP, and TRAS. So what you want to do is look at that sticker and write down those numbers. Mine happen to be 55515. It'll say 5-5-5-15. So what I'm going to do is change this from auto to 5, 5, 5, and I'm using the page down button, by the way, to do this. You can actually key in the number, with the number keys if you like. So now I have 5-5-5-15. You really don't want to stray from these timings. You want to set them manually, and that way that's what they'll be running at all the time. Now, advanced timing control. Generally, to be quite honest, you don't want to fuck around in here. Lots of memory settings that have very little impact on your performance, and if you set something wrong, can generally just screw things up. Advanced overclockers only, and I'm definitely not an advanced overclocker. So, next thing you want to do is enable load line calibration. Now what load line calibration does, is that it reduces, or sometimes even eliminates, what they call voltage drop and voltage droop with Intel chips. Now in the past this was a problem because let's say for example on a P35 board, you've got your Intel CPU in there and you've got it running at a certain amount of voltage, 1.4 volts let's say. You've set that in the BIOS. Well, you fire up, you get into Windows, and you get ready to start doing some benchmarking. So you open up CPU-Z or another utility that monitors CPU voltage real time, and you see that your CPU voltage is actually not 1.4 volts, but it's being reported as something like 1.35 or 1.37 volts. Well, that's voltage drop. Well, okay, now let's say you fire up Prime 95 and start doing a stress test on your CPU. Everybody knows what Prime 95 is. If you don't, then you probably shouldn't be watching this in the first place. So anyway, you fire up Prime 95 or something else that stresses all the cores on your CPU, and you watch that voltage reading in CPU-Z, and suddenly it drops down from 1.37 volts to something like 1.32 or 1.31, some ridiculous droop, which is what we call V-droop or voltage droop. Well, what load line calibration does is it pretty much eliminates that. It definitely eliminates the voltage droop. So once you start your benchmark, your CPU voltage is going to remain the same instead of drooping. Very good, very good. It can eliminate a lot of headaches when you're overclocking. You know, before, like with the P35 boards, we would have our voltage pumped so high and then start up a benchmark and, have 1.5 volts going to a poor little Core 2 Duo, and all of a sudden the voltage would drop to like 1.37. So, really frustrating. So this is a good option. You want to enable it. Now, your CPU V-core. As you can see here, it actually shows you what the normal value is. This is actually called VID, according to Intel specs. You'll see it listed in many software applications as VID. You want to change this to normal first off. In fact, go and change all these options, all these voltage options, to normal instead of auto. Normal, 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 normal. I should have told you guys this a minute ago. Normal, 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 normal. Why do we want to do this? Why do we want to set these as normal? Because if you set them as auto,